Humanity is on the cusp of a colossal shift in understanding, one that will completely rewrite our relationship with reality itself. I'm Leanne Rose, psychotherapist, advisor to some of the world's most influential leaders, and the channel for a structural intelligence known as the Galayla Collective. On this podcast, we explore what becomes possible when consciousness is understood not as a byproduct of the brain, but as the fundamental substance of the universe itself, capable of completely reshaping the material world we live in. Welcome to Consciousness First. Welcome to the first episode of Consciousness First. My name's Leanne Rose, and what we are going to be getting into today is the uprise into superconsciousness. So this has been erupting on the planet for the past 5 years, and my invitation, my early experiences of superconsciousness was introduced to me by the structural intelligence that I channel called the Galayla Collective. If you want to know more about them and their origins and what they're here for, check out our trailer. But we will be getting into a little bit of detail around that today. What we're going to get into today is going to look at this collective up-level into superconsciousness, how that has evolved over the last 5 years, how it relates to your ability to manifest with laser-focused precision and at lightning speed, and also how it relates to the pandemic and how we've all been involved in this process, whether we're aware of it or not, over the past 5 years. So I'm going to let the Galayla Collective take the wheel because they explain it sometimes much better than I do. But I also want you to remember this is a living transmission. So listen with your heart, not just your head, not just your ears. This is going to awaken a remembrance within you if you are ready to step into this new paradigm. Hello, dear souls. This is our favorite topic. So, today's episode, all about this collective uprising into what we call superconsciousness. This is the consciousness first paradigm. At this point in human history, the collective worldview that is accepted by scientists, by mainstream societal thinking, is that matter is fundamental and consciousness is secondary. That consciousness arises from the brain. But what if, dear ones, what if this is not actually the truth at all? There is a new world view that is being whispered behind intellectual doorways. It started in spiritual circles. But there is nothing remotely spiritual about this concept. This concept does not fit into religion, spirituality, philosophy. It is the container in which all other concepts sit. We are here to ask you a fundamental question. How does your life change when you believe that consciousness is the only substance in the universe? Let us tell you. When you believe that matter is fixed and that matter is primary, the belief that goes hand in hand with this is that you do not have power to shift the world around you. Not the power of gods, at least. Not the power that actually allows you to create meaningful transformational change in reality itself. But when you believe that consciousness is primary, that consciousness is the only substance in the universe, and that you are consciousness, the belief that goes hand in hand with this is that you are not just engaging with reality, you are reality. When you understand that you are the very substance that makes up the reality that you are experiencing, it then makes sense that you have the ability to shift and change the reality you are experiencing as easily as you have the ability to change self. This is the cornerstone of the consciousness first approach. Now, many human beings have begun to play in world viewpoints that build a bridge to this perspective. And we talk about the four aspects, four phases of development of creation consciousness that a human being must move through in order for this level of awareness to come online within the body. It is not a given. It is a process that a human being must say yes to and must move through willingly. The first step is to actually become aware of the internal world. The fundamental principle of a consciousness-first approach to life is that your internal world creates your external reality. And in order for you to evidence this, you must first recognize what is actually happening in your internal world. Most individuals are extremely distracted by their external world, extremely distracted by what we call illusionary frequencies of lack and worry. But if all is consciousness, if all is consciousness, if all is God, if all is energy, then worry and lack are illusion. For you are consciousness itself, exploring itself from all angles, playing the game of being separated from self. And we will break this down over and over and over from many different angles in our time together. But we want you to recognize the fundamental shift that you must come home to is that you are in the driver's seat. Reality is not happening to you. It is also not happening for you, as many individuals believe. It is happening because of you. You are the causal effect of the experiences that you actually encounter in your third dimensional world. Many individuals find this very difficult to get on board with because a lot of time, life is not all that great. But when you begin to recognize that contrast is your highest portal into freedom, recognizing that consciousness is always attempting to wake you up to who you are, and these portals and gateways are here to assist you to dive deeper into that, this all begins to make sense. Now, the living, breathing aspect of this, and indeed the actual initiatory shift for human beings into superconsciousness was the 2020 pandemic, the Great Reset. The time when the earth stood still and individuals were forced inwards. Many individuals experienced the most difficult times in their life. But what did it force them to do, dear ones? It forced them to look at their inner world. When life is busy, when life is in full flow, human beings do anything to avoid the self. Sex, money, drugs, drama, work, worry. Human beings are addicted to worry, addicted to phones, addicted to drama in interpersonal relationships. None of this is bad. It is all still consciousness experiencing itself from all angles. But when the world was forced to stop, what this did was force individuals to look at their inner realm properly for the first time. It forced people to go within and get clear on what it was that they actually wanted from life. It also burst the bubble that somehow life will just tick by if you do not take responsibility for self. What this initiated was this great reckoning, the internal reckoning where souls were actually able to recognize, I have been living life hoping that one day my present moment will be different. But if the pandemic has shown me anything, it is that I must seize the day now. Because the future may not look the way I think it does, even when I am playing with my safety net. So I need to take the bull by the horns, so to speak, and do what I wish to do with my life right now. Over the next 4 or 5 years, what then was built out was the new energy bodies, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. We will get into more of these in later episodes. But new energetic architectural structures were then built in at the collective level, and individuals began to pop off, awakening left, right, and center like popcorn. But there is a fundamental difference, dear ones, between fifth dimensional awakening and superconsciousness awakening. This is what we call the adolescent aspect of creation consciousness. When you begin to recognize there is more to life than just this 3D world, and you begin to take charge of your inner world, you are moving from infant phase creation consciousness into adolescent. In adolescent phase, this is where we hear many spiritual circles talking about 5D, New Earth paradigm, channeling star beings, playing in past life selves or star seed heritage. None of these things are bad, but they are not the height of spiritual development. They are simply a bridge. For in these aspects, the individuals playing within this still believe that the universe exists outside of the self, still are seeking a source outside of the human, still demonizing the human experience and seeking to escape it. Even with conventional religion, there is this idea that God is somehow outside, somehow greater. It is something that we are aspiring to connect to, but will always be separate from. This is not superconscious reality creation. From this dynamic, whether you are giving power away to spirit guides or power away to conventional religion, there is this idea that the fate of my life, my destiny, is in somebody else's hands. And dear ones, this is far from the truth. As you move into what we call sixth dimensional consciousness, this idea of consciousness first begins to take hold. And we begin to actually recognize what it means for internal reality to create external world. This is where you begin to recognize that you have the power to create your own reality. This is where we begin to play with the idea that internal reality actually does create the external world. Many of you will have been playing with this from the idea of law of attraction. Still somewhat 5D, and we will get into this in later episodes. But when we move into this adult phase of creation consciousness, moving into these sixth dimensional thinking patterns, we begin to actually embody the truth that I am not co-creating with the universe, but the universe is somehow greater than I. I am learning that I actually am the universe. And reality is actually simply the reflection of the points of awareness I am choosing to amplify in any given moment. Some people call this identity work, self-concept work. When I shift the identity or the self-concept that I am playing in, then I shift the reality I experience. But when playing in six-dimensional pieces, there is also this layer of needing to control the reality, not actually trusting the interconnected flow of all things, not trusting the wider design of consciousness itself. But this process of development is what allows you to crack open into this level of awareness. And when you move beyond these elements, move beyond adult phase, even 6D, and move into full superconsciousness, full embodied truth, that you are consciousness itself awakening to itself from all angles. When you learn to track how life itself is speaking to you and waking you up to this truth, playing with you in this truth every single second of every single day, when you learn how to speak the language of consciousness and receive that data back from your system, this is when you achieve the ability to actually create at this level. Because internal reality creates external world. And the journey that you go on to evidence this to yourselves, dear ones. And this is why many intellectuals are beginning to really awaken to this process, for they have minds that allow us to evidence what is possible, to track the structures that actually allow this level of remembrance to come online within each and every system. Because consciousness is a variable that is not even considered in mainstream science, and yet it is fundamental. And in the coming years, in coming decades, this will be the heart of an entirely new realm of study that shakes the very foundations of what science is currently based upon. This is why we see such resistance. But it is inevitable that this is coming, dear ones, for each and every one of you have felt your own ripple effects of this. Those of you that have been playing with manifestation have felt that the older paradigm techniques are no longer working. Why? Because you are being called into a much deeper level of awareness, a much deeper connection to self and to life itself. As you begin to awaken to this fundamental concept that consciousness is the only substance in the universe. Not only that, but you are that very consciousness. You are the substance of reality itself. And when you understand how to master the self at this level, the self-concept at this level, you awaken to the truth that the entire universe is your playground, that you are both the avatar and the master coder, and you get to play within the game you have created and recode it as you go. There is no better time to be alive, dear souls. We are about to have such fun. Whew. All right, my loves. So there you go. In our next episode, we are going to be getting into a little bit more around the specifics of how this consciousness-first approach might have been rippling through your system, what this might have meant for you, how it might have changed things, with a specific focus on manifestation itself. Because if you have been feeling this crack into superconsciousness, the older paradigm pieces of manifestation are no longer going to be aligned with you, and they're actually going to stop working. That's not because you're going backwards. It's not because you're out of alignment. It's not because you're getting it wrong. It's because you're being invited into something so much fucking bigger, and it's so much better, and it's so much fucking fun. So we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening, my loves. Since we're newly launched and we want to get this out to as many people as possible, we've got a super juicy invitation for those of you willing to share this podcast with your community. If you share us on social stories, tag us, and leave a review, you'll be entered into a prize draw to win an exclusive 3-month immersive one-to-one experience with myself and the GC to crack you into this new dimension of awareness. For the lucky winner, we'll be breaking down our superconscious manifestation methodology so you can start implementing this in your life and start manifesting at this level. But every share counts, my loves. And to say a massive thank you to everyone contributing to getting this information as far and wide as possible. If we make it into the top 100, we'll be giving everyone that's shared us and left a review one of our most powerful transmissions. This is one of our clients' all-time favorites, and it's been responsible for some of our biggest breakthroughs and client results. You can find out more about the competition and other ways to work with us in the show notes below. We'll see you in the next one.